He's Bruce the Blog.
And he's the one and only Bazzo at work. And you're watching Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo.
It's good to see.
Thanks for joining us again. This week on Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo, or as we like to call it, BTBGB, we're starting a new segment that will just intersperse throughout the show. It's Salute of the Week and Salvo of the Week. First we're going to do the Salvo of the Week, and later on in the show we'll do the salute. And this week the Salvo goes to municipalities like the city of Peekskill, which I'm afraid to say contacted our company this week with a sort of strange request, and the way that it was done is why I'm issuing the salvo to Peekskill. Our company has orange boxes that we have in Peekskill and other areas to distribute newspapers. Of course, we went through all the proper channels, all the usual red tape to make sure that the boxes conform to city ordinances and codes and policies about 6 months ago. And they knew what the boxes looked like, they had photos, they had everything they requested, and they approved the boxes. And then we get a call this week from somebody who only identified themselves by name, city of Peekskill, not what department the person was from, not what authorization this person was calling us on, not citing any ordinances, and said that the boxes could not be orange, they had to be painted. Why? We don't know why, because the ordinance doesn't even specify what color it has to be. And so this is one of the issues I've always had with the municipalities is when it comes to architecture review boards and things like planning boards, it sounds like by their own behavior that they just make it up as they go along. And when this happens, I always say to people, ask them to show you in writing where it says what they're telling you, because you know something, it's not good enough that a city worker is saying you have to change it. Don't accept that. And so we're going to change the colors because we're not looking to make trouble. But we're a business like a lot of other businesses, and cities and municipalities should treat businesses a little better. And that brings us to our guest this week. Andy and I are really pleased to have with us somebody that I'm proud to call a friend. And this is somebody who easily can be described by those words, mover and shaker. And that is Joe Visconti, who is president of the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Joe. Thanks for being with us.
Welcome, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that person in Peekskill probably hates Halloween.
You're probably right, Andy. But I know they put a little scare into us, but not really. But one of the things I want to say about Joe is I used to be on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's done a lot of great things for the town of Yorktown and for the Chamber. One of the most famous ones, of course, is the Street Festival, Joe, that you started. It's going to be its third year, right?
Yes.
On October 9th, 2011. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that, you know, people who know the Chamber and know that you were really the main force behind making that happen. Now it's become, overnight, the first year it became a tradition and an institution. Is there anything new that you're planning for this year?
Yeah, we're going to change the venue a little bit. You know, we're going to try to make it a little different. Try to improve on it, although it's very successful the way it was. But we want to get, for instance, we're going to have a parade. We're going to get more community involvement. The high schools, different organizations around Yorktown and surrounding towns. And we're going to make some other little changes here and there to try to make it even better than it is.
Isn't there an old business axiom, though, that you should never fix what works?
Yes, that's true, but it has been a little bit broken, I will say that, and that's what we're going to fix.
I remember the first major controversy you had that I applaud you for the way you handled it, was when the town said you can't have any political campaigning during that event. Go ahead, tell them what you had to go through to get that.
I remember being at the town work session when that happened, and I had my vice president with me, Mike Pop, and Mike is doesn't hold anything back, and
He's
great
been known-
guy,
he's been known
great
to
vice.
pop off.
That's right, great guy, and but I remember him standing behind me, and when that happened, there was a reaction to that, and I sort of went like this and hit him on the knee and says, you know, this is going to blow up in their face. We don't need to do anything here. And that's exactly the way we handled it, and that's exactly what happened. And you know, in their defense, it was the first year, and you know, we all make mistakes, and it was a trial and error. But they really made a boo-boo on that.
Yeah,
one.
but this was consistent with the town, like with their no lawn signs for campaigns. You know, they want to silence opposing speech, actually all speech, and then you get the town thinks it had the right to tell you who can buy a booth in your parade. I mean, I know they license you, but the idea was these people were getting a booth for their stuff, right?
That's true. But where they crossed the line was when one of the councilmen said to me that if we do political booths, he's going to do everything in his power to shut down the festival. That's when they really
unbelievable.
crossed. That's when they crossed the line.
Right, and this is the town, though.
Yeah, it's the town. I
Now
understand.
you are the head of the Chamber of Commerce.
And who was the councilman?
You go ahead.
I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was Lou Campisi.
Lou Campisi.
Oh, yes.
He really got hot on
It
that
was.
one.
Right.
And, you know,
Right.
I was, I mean, I'm a big guy and all, but I don't like to, you know, confrontation,
But
especially
this
under
is
that forum.
this is par for the town. You're the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm watching an interview Bruce did with Michael Grace just recently. It's on ncnlocal.com, and you just go down to the videos and you'll find it. And the first thing they go into, a developer, a businessman comes
Escrow
into town,
fees, yeah.
comes
Yes.
into town,
Right.
and they've got a lawyer with them, or an engineer or whatever, that they've paid for. Then it turns out, and you can explain this more, both of you.
Well, but not only clarify that, Andy, the business owner coming in does not have an engineer or lawyer with them. This is where we get into the discrepancy and
Yeah, but
the
they-
argument against this practice.
Right, but don't they still have an advocate for them if it's really complicated? Their
Yes,
advocate
they
that
do.
they,
They
pay
could,
for?
they could have their
They
own,
do.
yes.
Right,
they
but
could.
what I'm
do.
saying, but they
Right,
also now have to pay
Right, that's what I'm getting.
for the person that's going to beat them up. I was telling you guys
On
all-
behalf of the town.
Right, I was saying, you know, this is the stick. I was telling about a friend I knew that when his father wanted to hit him, said, "Go get me something to beat you with." He'd come back in and give him a stick to beat him with. Why are we having to pay, or a developer having to pay for the stick that's going to beat him with? You can, if you don't mind giving the people the more detail of what this is about paying for your opponent.
Right. Well, and I think what we're asking Joe to elaborate on, because he's in the best position to talk about this from his vantage point as president of the chamber, is how do you feel, Joe, to Andy's specific point, that a town like Yorktown can better treat its businesses? And, you know, Susan Siegel, the supervisor, has announced a business revitalization plan, which I know you're intimately familiar with. You know, I think you've become like one of the advisors to Susan, as you should be, on business development. So, you know, addressing Andy's point as well, how can the town improve its relations to encourage business development with business owners?
Well, it's true that she has come out with a Yorktown revitalization plan, and we're in favor of that, and we're excited about it, and it's long overdue. However, to get back to Andy's point on the developer fees, it's really a conflict, because if Andy wants to build something in town, he's the developer. He brings you in as an engineer and me in as an attorney. So he's got his staff.
Right, okay.
He's got his team.
Yes.
What the town is now saying is that another attorney or engineer has to be hired by the town. So it's actually the town that's hiring them. And he's going to represent the town in this project. The conflict is that Andy is now paying me and you, but he's also paying the town attorney or engineer, for which he's not really the client.
Right.
That the other team is representing the town.
He's probably an adversary.
He is an adversary.
Now, didn't you also say they don't get an invoice, they don't get to choose the
Well, that's the-
lawyer, and
that's-
they don't get to choose the fee?
That's the other flip
What a
side is that well, of course,
bargain.
you know, the chamber has been against this from the beginning, because we always felt it's an open checkbook,
Right.
and that's just exactly what it's turning out to be. For instance, there have been several projects around town in the last 6 or 9 months where this has come up, and I know one individual, I happened to be at the town board meeting, that got a bill for $23,000, and when he asked for an invoice, he was told that he couldn't get it because it was town attorney-client privilege. So here he is, here he is paying a $23,000 bill for something that he has no say on, couldn't even get an invoice on it to find out what the attorney actually did for the money.
Right.
And it's killing business. You know, it's
Think
very
maybe
hard.
Shakespeare was right.
It's very hard to be in business today because, you know, you have taxes.
Right.
You know, business today is paying 17, 18% over payroll for various taxes.
And of course, we have the MTA
The
payroll
MTA
tax.
tax,
Yep.
which is never going to get repealed.
You don't think so?
Never. As long as you have Shelley Silver there in New York City, it's never going to
Well,
get repealed.
as you know, State Senator Ball and two of his colleagues have introduced a bill to repeal it over the next 2 years. You don't think it's going to pass?
I've addressed this issue in a future column that will be coming out in the Penny Saver community. This is the phoniness of state government and press releases. And one of the examples I've cited is the MTA. It was a one-house bill. You need two houses
Sure.
to agree
By
before it
camera,
goes to the
right.
governor.
Right.
So you
By
have
camera.
and this is not just, I'm using this as an example, but this happens all the time. You have a one-house bill, you have the great photo op. We just passed a bill to repeal the MTA tax. Now, to the average reader that sees the headline, is, oh, good, the MTA tax. They don't read the rest of the story that says, well, it was only passed by the state Senate, and it's waiting for the Assembly's action, and everybody knows, like you
not gonna
said,
pass the
it's
Assembly.
not
Right.
gonna happen.
But when you consider,
But you get a photo op.
But you
get a
consider
photo
what
op.
time of the year it is, and that the election is
That's
coming
right.
up, and all these guys are standing up there, and they're all getting their picture in the paper from your organization, and God knows every other one.
Right.
And what they're really doing is getting free election publicity.
But
Yep.
it's a con job.
Because it doesn't happen after the election.
But it's
Right.
it's a con job. This was the point of the column I've done. It's a con job on the public with these press releases that we as the press, and me with Bazzo at work, I reproduce these press releases all the time. I don't edit them. We enable the con
Are you
job.
bragging about it or not?
No, it's that we
Bragging
do-
that you don't edit them?
Well, because I think if somebody sounds stupid, I shouldn't trade. You know, you give somebody somebody's digging themselves a hole, you hand them a shovel. You don't bail them out. You know, it's that simple. And
And by the way, folks, this program is unedited, so if we sound stupid, you know, you're going to know it, right?
But it is time to educate the people. Yes, you should read the press releases. Yes, you should see what they're thinking. But also understand that most of these are the meaningless and they're as phony as the people sending them.
Getting back,
go ahead.
getting back to the other issue, the developer, the taxes, the MTA tax. We have a tree ordinance now, developer fees. I mean, they're piling the stuff on local businesses that are just hindering
Right.
business in not only this town, all across the country. And you know, when things get bad, make it easier for business to do business.
Yes.
One
Right.
quick question before I know what you're
Right,
going to
right.
say. I said last week, nobody's removing the hoops. They're talking about making business friendly, but nobody's removing the hoops. Susan Siegel's revitalization plan doesn't remove any hoops. She's codifying what exists.
You're talking about Bazzo's talking about the hoops that people have to jump through to get a business plan approved.
But you said I was wrong. Would you tell me where I was wrong?
I didn't say you were wrong. I said that the way I see it. And remember, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't endorse candidates.
but
We
you-
endorse issues.
Right, but you were
In this
more informed
particular-
on this than me.
In this particular instance, I haven't heard anything from the candidates except from Michael Grace on Bruce's interview that his opinion was that the developer fee should be removed and another town attorney should be hired. And I can remember years ago when they had 3 town attorneys, a lot less lawsuits, things ran smoother, it was a much better process. But this is what we have now, and until we have a change in the administration, somebody that's going to lead this town into an easier way for business to do business, you're right, it's not going to change.
Then
There is nobody
Right.
removing the
So then
hoops.
people should be watching this interview with Michael Grace on NCN
Yeah,
Local.
no,
Obviously,
it's very revealing. I mean, Joe, I wanted to quickly ask you if you can comment at all. You know, we hear rumors all the time about a lot of things, but some of the more provocative ones in a positive sense for people who support business development in this region is that such national chains like International House of Pancakes, IHOP, and Lowe's, the home improvement chain, and Costco have looked seriously at coming into Yorktown and have scoped out sites. And I mean, is there anything happening with any of those or any other major retailers?
Yeah, well, Costco has a full-blown plan right now. They're working their way through New York State and Yorktown. There is an issue, as you know, between the partners about selling the property because it has a gas station on it, which, by the way, it's been a gas station ever since I could remember.
Right.
So I don't think that, that the issue is valid there. I think they'll overcome that. Costco will go forward. I think they're on schedule to break ground in 2012.
Right.
As far as IHOP goes, I can tell you that they are looking at a lease in town. The leases
Lowe's?
haven't been signed.
Lowe's.
IHOP.
Oh, IHOP. Sorry.
IHOP is looking at,
Okay.
at a spot in town.
Is that on
but
Route 6? Is that?
It's in Yorktown.
Okay.
And I don't want to speculate. Leases
Okay.
haven't been signed yet. So.
Alrighty.
And of course, I know that Lowe's is also looking at a place in town, but they want the developer to move a little more forward in the process, which he is with his application.
So none of those deals are dead. I mean,
No,
they're in
no,
progress.
No, as a matter of fact, there's also somebody that's very interested in the food emporium.
Oh, okay, great.
But A&P again is in bankruptcy, and
owns
that has
it,
to
right.
has to get past that. And
Right.
So there are several developments, big commercial interests, looking to come to Yorktown, but they have to have a little cooperation.
That's what I
Right.
was just want to get to. You're
They
telling
have
me
to
that
have
leases
a
want to get
little
signed and all this.
cooperation.
Right.
But now they sign a lease, so they move forward. Next thing you know, the town comes in and says, wait a second, we got there's a gas, like you said, the gas station that's been there 100 years, all of a sudden now a gas station is
Well,
an
what
issue.
we're doing to remedy that.
Wasn't there one business that wanted to, Pizza Hut, that was denied because their roof was red in Yorktown?
Well, that was Linda Cooper's administration.
I
But
understand
you're right.
that, but you have people
you're right.
still on the board that go back that far.
But what we're doing now, what the Chamber of Commerce doing now is we have what we formed as a business development committee. As a matter of fact, I could tell you that Mohegan Lake Motors is putting in an application to build a new showroom where the old Bella Vita used to be.
Yes.
And we have a meeting with everybody on July 14th at the Chamber office,
Okay.
with the town is coming with their entourage, and
Right.
Mr. Ross is coming, and the
It's
business development.
Barry Rust, who owns Mohegan Motors.
Right. The business development committee is going to be there, and we're going to get everybody in the room at one time. And we're going to look at the plan, and they're going to tell us what they need when, so that we can move through the process very smoothly.
Right.
As a matter of fact, this was done years ago when Tony Grasso was a councilman, and they put up Toys R Us.
Right.
And the whole thing went very smoothly because that was the process that they used. We're going
Right.
to try to reintroduce that and try to help these companies get to Yorktown.
But as
Right,
long as
okay.
you have the current people that have been obstacles to business, how is this going to happen?
You know, it's the chamber has that since I've been president 3 years. The chamber's been introduced to this area, business. For some reason, the whole country's on board now. Okay, the problem is you cannot sustain the Yorktown tax base without more business. The homeowners are getting
Yeah,
killed.
absolutely.
All right, and unless you bring in more business, Costco is worth $2 million a year
Right.
to the town of Yorktown. The 202 corridor, if it's developed correctly, and that's not going to hurt any residents or any density or anything like that, is worth $3 or $4 million a year. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What shape would the town board be in now if 202 was redeveloped and there was another $3 or $4 million coming into the town every year in tax?
No,
So
absolutely,
does the
yeah.
Chamber of Commerce get people to get involved, to pay attention to this stuff? You can't
Yes.
endorse, but you can get people to be more
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
informed.
Absolutely.
And
And,
that-
what the Chamber of Commerce does is for the benefit of Yorktown. It's a nonprofit organization. We don't make money on this stuff. It's for the benefit of our community. The community belongs to all of us.
People bring people, business bring people. It's a giant
Right.
chain in that respect.
Right. So, and by the way, for all the people watching this, if you're a business owner and you don't belong to the Yorktown Chamber, you need to join. I mean, you see how dynamic Joe is, and he's doing a lot of great things for Yorktown and businesses. In fact, Joe, talking, just in closing up this segment, in talking about the winds of change, so to speak, I know and we know that you sort of tested the political waters yourself this year on the Republican side. Do you have any further political aspirations, or?
Not at this time.
No.
My aspirations are for the Chamber of Commerce, and I love the Chamber, I love the community, I love business, I love the people that are members, and I'm going to be advocating through the Chamber for the town of Yorktown.
Right. And when we also want to make sure that, before we leave Joe or he leaves us or both, that, what demonstrating Joe's commitment to the community is that he recently was honored by the Yorktown Lions on the occasion of their 50th anniversary, their Jubilee dinner that they recently held. And Joe very deservedly received what's called the Richard Uplinger Award, which is given to somebody who shows great service to the community. So, Joe, we just want to congratulate you on that. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah. And thanks a lot for joining us.
Okay.
Joe. All right. Thank you.
Good to see you
Thank
again,
you.
Joe.
Yeah. Okay. And so last week we talked about how Penny Saver Community, the chain of local newspapers that I'm affiliated with, is not going to be endorsing candidates. And one thing I wanted to add to that, by the way, this week, is that this is what our theme is for this election year. And the theme is vote for the best. And what does that mean? That means vote, first of all, just vote for somebody, and vote for the best, which is our patented slogan, you might say, means that we all hope for the best for the quality of life in the communities where we reside and the people who represent us as elected officials. And so you should just vote for the person on an informed basis, find out everything you need to know about the candidates. And our endorsement policy is to tell you, vote for the best person who represents your interests. I mean, I think that's the wisest advice we could give. You may not totally agree, Andy. You may beg to differ a little bit with
I'm not
that.
even going to beg because we went to this last week. So the only thing I'm going to say is our question of the week is going to be: is this new policy, the Penny Saver Community, is it correct or incorrect? And email the Penny Saver Community with your opinion on their new policy.
But isn't it true that an opinion can't be correct or incorrect? And our opinion is we're not doing endorsements.
Well, when the customer, right now, I think the customer wants it, and I think your opinion is saying the customer is wrong.
No, not. Oh no.
That's
no, no.
my
Oh, not at all.
own. That's my way of looking at it, and I think the only way we're going to find out is find out what the customer thinks.
No, I mean our opinion on this topic is that it should not be up to a newspaper or probably any news organization to tell its audience what to think. It could, as you've said, we could influence the debate in various ways. But what it comes down to is that a news organization, when it does endorsements, it's done by a handful of people. So they can vote for whoever they want to vote for. But why should a handful of people in a news organization be telling a mass audience, and we have a mass audience, by the way, now, which is a big difference. Why should we tell them who to vote for? People are smart enough and they should figure it out for themselves because that's part of a democracy. Anyhow, let's get on to another topic.
I know. I want to discuss now a couple of things that have happened with the state.
Okay.
Number one, I will say right now, as of this taping, that the gay marriage thing is not coming to a vote.
Right.
And even if it does, I don't believe it's going to pass.
Okay.
And I will tell you right now, I don't want to deal with the merits of the bill. That's been discussed from both sides. The politics of the bill is what's interesting. The Conservative Party said to the Republican Party, anybody that votes for this bill, we're not going to endorse. Republicans can't really win without the Conservative Party endorsement. And there's about 7 state senators in the last election that proved that point.
Right.
And that, of course, would tip the control of the state Senate back to the Democrats. Now, you say this is an issue of conscience. No, this is an issue of survival. The gay voting bloc votes Democrat. It would say roadkill Democrat. The gay voting bloc would vote for the Democrat. So there is no upside for the Republican candidate to lose the conservative backing because they're not going to get any Democrat votes out of this. Right. So what they're saying is that we want you to sacrifice your political career for this issue.
Right.
Not happening.
Yeah.
And that's the politics behind it.
Okay.
The second thing, you could have jumped in on that.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Second thing is what did pass, interesting enough, before cap, property tax cap, rent control, or what they call the big ugly.
Yes.
And it is no smoking on train platforms.
And what's wrong with that?
There is no science on secondhand smoke. None whatsoever.
There is no science on it?
No, there isn't. It's like man-made global warming. It is hypothesis piled on top of theory.
How about this? Okay, there's no science on secondhand smoke. Says my esteemed co-host Bazzo, how about common sense on
Doesn't
secondhand
matter.
smoke?
It's still a public platform. There is nothing to say that secondhand smoke. There's not one autopsy, not single.
It's toxic.
There's a lot. There's a lot of things that can hurt.
By the
you.
way, what redeeming value does smoking
Who
have?
cares? Freedom is to protect the unpopular. You don't need freedom to protect the popular.
Freedom's not to protect the unhealthy and
Excuse me.
and people
even
getting sick.
first-hand smoking. First-hand smoking only kills 1/3 of the people that smoke.
Only.
Still,
Only.
no. Still, the minority of smokers' deaths can be attributed. 1/3 versus 2/3 that died from other causes.
Right.
Only 1/3 can be attributed to first-hand smoke, and we have turned the entire world. If smoking was that guaranteed to kill you, it would be outlawed. It is a political tool. It is a
and
money
by the way,
tool.
it's about as close to being outlawed as anything can be without being outlawed.
But if it,
Right? And by the way, let me take a wild guess. Do you smoke?
yes, but
Oh.
so what? What I'm saying is that you've turned the world upside down because 1/3 of a group of people have died from what has happened.
Okay. And I hear you, but I want to get to some other things.
But as far as secondhand smoke goes, there is no science. And now they're going to do, they've already done parks.
Right.
New York City won't even let you smoke on the sidewalk now. This is an intrusive thing.
Okay, and I think we should pick up on this next week.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to end it by saying you're blowing smoke, but we can continue next week. I want to make sure that we get this week to our salute of the week because this to me is really great. We recently reported on this. We send out, our news organization sends out mobile news alerts, and our sports editor Rob D'Antonio does a great job. So I found out about this on my smartphone myself. I do a lot of different things during the day, so I'm not necessarily aware of when the story originates, let's say, and even when it's posted on our website. So I'm looking at my smartphone and I see that Jamie Loeb is a 16-year-old woman in Ossining, and we just recently reported that Jamie Loeb is the #1 ranked 16 and under tennis player in the country. Let me repeat that for you. Jamie Loeb of Ossining is the #1 ranked 16 and under tennis player in the United States of America, and whether you follow sports or not, you have to admire and appreciate that we have here in our midst somebody who is the best in the country, which, let's face it, folks, doesn't happen very often. Not only that, but Ms. Loeb has had 8 matches this year against 18 and under opponents, and she has beat every one of them. And I'll just finish this in our salute to Jamie Loeb, our salute of the week to Jamie Loeb of Ossining, by saying she's being tutored to some extent, we report, by none other than John and Patrick McEnroe. So you know something? We wouldn't be surprised to see her as a very successful professional tennis player very soon. And just quickly, Bazzo, I want to talk about another segment that we want to introduce called Fun Stuff. You know, the world isn't just about politics as much as we love to talk about it. So coming up July 4th weekend, you might want to check out in Sleepy Hollow, they're having this Pirates of the Hudson. It sort of looks like, to me, from the description, a mini theme park for families. So, you should check that out. And at the Yorktown stage, coming up later in July, the last couple of weekends of July, is Little Shop of Horrors, which is a very, very funny, entertaining musical for the whole family. And also in Yorktown, the Lions Club that we mentioned before does a great job over at Jack DeVito Memorial Field of their summer concerts, their outdoor summer concerts, al fresco, as we like to say. And so the next one is July 10th. Wouldn't it be nice if you attended the Beach Boys tribute July 10th at Jack DeVito Field? And also, let me mention that at the Westchester Broadway Theater, Seussical the Musical is playing there through July 30th. And at the Paramount, you might want to check out in August the Marshall Tucker Band. Marshall Tucker's a great... Anyhow, Bazzo, that's it for this week. Any closing words very quickly, other than the preceding opinions have been mine.
And the preceding opinion was mine.
And you may beg to differ.
By the way, they're going to allow smoking at the concerts?
Well,